There we go.
Cool.
Yeah. Pull the surprise.
Pull the surprise on everybody.
Yeah, I started like 5 seconds early. Holy crap.
5 seconds early and right on time for the 6 o'clock show. I showed up right on time.
Yeah. Let's see. I just want to make sure I got everything here. So, let's see. Okay, that's up. Blow the nose. No, it's not COVID.
Thru Autistic Eyes. Have I not liked this page before?
I thought you did.
I thought I did too. Oh, this one says community. Maybe, is that it?
I can't see with that glare. No, the Thru is spelled wrong. It's THRU.
THRU. Got it.
Yeah. Don't worry, folks. We'll get there.
Are you out?
Who's first up? Hey, Rayan.
Oh, Rand, there you go. Yeah, I did like the page.
Oh, okay, good.
So I don't have to get Joe out because he got himself out. He escaped.
He escaped. He's in the wild.
He's in the wild. Is Rand with us? Hi, Rand. I love you.
Yep, she is. Okay,
Good.
You know what? We better get started here since we're not late. We're on time.
When we show up, baby, that's right on time.
Yeah, what was that quote from Gandalf again?
Are you out?
Who's first up? Oh.
That was me. All right, now I'll share it to my page.
And hey, Rachel. And yep, Brian says love you too.
Good. She better.
Oh, and hey, Scott.
Nice.
Okay. Just a moment. Okay. I ask if you're ready to get started, but I think I already know the answer to that, right?
What do you think I'm going to say? Born ready, baby.
Exactly. So here we go in 3, 2, 1. Boop. And here we go.
That was a nice little video. Like, those were your pictures, huh?
Yep, those were my pictures.
Is that your eyeball?
Yeah, pretty oddly shaped eyeball, but yeah. So, hey there, everyone. This is Christopher D. Casson here once again with Thru Autistic Eyes, and here we have continuing our little series of the month of growth, and now we're going to talk a little bit about business. So, here we have my good buddy and who I like to call Big Bro, Jason Sisneros, that tattoo guru, the purveyor of all things common sense, the king of the misfit nation, and the legend, baby, in his own mind.
You do my intro better than me, bro.
Yeah, and also something about philanthropic work, and also the whole chairman of Anton J, and all this other little stuff as well on top of that. So
little stuff, you know.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
That's awesome. Okay, so anyway, for this session, we're going to talk about how to get through this whole COVID-19 thing. Hopefully, censorship from YouTube doesn't knock that out from hearing that, but you know, talking about how to get past this and grow beyond it on the business side. So I would like to ask how you've been handling this pandemic, but I think it's pretty obvious that you are handling this like a winner holding up that championship to brag, right? Because, you know, you've been preparing this moment for quite a while.
I have, I mean, at the end of the day, like one of the things that we know, you and I were just talking about this before we went live, is the fact that life is always happening around us. Everybody says, "Oh, this thing, how are you doing through this thing?" And in public life, you have recessions, you have Y2K, you have recessions like 2008, 2009, you have going back in history, you have depressions, you have, there's always something. There was Ebola, there was, there's always something that pops up in people's lives. And the best thing for us to do is for us to realize that we should always be prepared, right? Always be prepared. And so for me, for the last 10 years, I've been preparing, and, weapons and food and water and land and, all kinds of stuff, just in case this ever happened.
An army base.
Yeah, basically that's what it is. And at the end of the day, it's great it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And I think that's probably been a good lesson, because I don't think this is going to end up being the disaster that everybody expected it to be. Thank God. But what it could do is serve. We don't know what's going to happen with the economy. That thing's still out on the horizon. We don't know a lot of things. But at the end of the day, where people are hyper focused on this one thing, this virus, they forget that tragedies and upheavals and divorces and death and sickness and bankruptcies and money changes and business changes and all that stuff, it is constantly happening around us. It's just this one happens to be a worldwide phenomenon that everybody has hyper focused on at the same time. I don't think it's going to end up being the disaster that everybody says it is. So it's a great wake up call if it's not. If it is, you've already done pretty much what you can to prepare for it, except for your day to day, being able to continue to lift yourself up and to do things in advance and pivot and do all the things that you and I will talk about tonight. But yes, I've been preparing for this a long time, got made fun of for being a prepper. There's an actual name for us idiots. And so I'm not concerned, which puts me in a great position to be able to lead people and help calm people down and to be able to support charities and people that need help during this period of time.
And to basically not act like Chicken Little.
Yeah, Chicken Little. But it was funny because I was watching that with my daughter the other day, the cartoon Chicken Little, and Chicken Little was right all along. The piece of the sky did fall.
Just not in the way we kind of expected and kind of ignored.
Yeah, exactly. Got ignored, and even though it did happen, people ignored Chicken Little or in the story or whatever, and then it came to be true. So but a lot of times, again, it just comes back to leading and guiding, and the best and first place that people should lead is from their own. Is in their own life.
Yeah. And like Rayanne just said, I was not prepared with toilet paper. Dang, lesson learned.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me even. I mean, I had plenty of toilet paper, but it wasn't, I thought it was very interesting that that's where people went. They're like, gotta have toilet paper.
I'm still just as puzzled as you are with that. Let's just leave some for the rest of us. I still have an extra pack here if anyone wants it, but since I now see piles of toilet paper at the stores now, it's like I've gone to the promised land of gumdrops and
well, I think oddly enough, Christopher, I think that people that went berserk on toilet paper were like, if I have toilet paper, that's a thing I can do to grasp the uncertainty of what's going on.
Yeah.
Like if I have enough toilet paper, then I know that I can wipe my ass and I can feel normal that I have a toilet paper situation here. And we do weird stuff, like we're weird animals,
Yeah.
And I think that at the end of the day, it was just a grasping of normalcy and being like, okay, well, I may not be prepared for everything that's coming. I may not know what's going on, but by God, I got some Charmin in the bathroom and I'm set for a little while.
Yeah. And for those, in advance, this episode is not going to be PG rating. So I don't give a damn if you go all out.
Yep. Should be a language.
When Jason's in the house, don't expect it for most cases.
That's right. That's right.
That's the way he
Well,
rolls.
and I've been, the way that you've been handling it, I've been very proud about the way you've been handling it, where, with your situation with being autistic and having all of this new information hitting you, like that's like, so if somebody could understand, like being hit by a machine gun of rubber bullets constantly, right? That's kind of how this has been for you, right? And
well, for me, it's like that. And then when the COVID-19 came in, it was like bazooka and like a water pistol and all this other crap.
Well, water pistols can be fun, but we won't do that on this show.
Unless it's a super soaker, then it just gets annoying.
Then it just gets annoying. But at the end of the day, I mean, I've been really proud of you, because you've been thinking, which has been a giant missing piece of what's been going on, is you've been thinking through it. And I get your messages and you tell me, here's what I'm thinking. And you're really adjusting, you're really adjusting through it.
The best I can, but
you
I still slip up, but
the best you can. But this is what I always love to tell you, is the world around you is also doing that, right? Where you want to think of yourself as separate because you're on the autistic spectrum. Everybody else is going through it too, and you've been handling it better than people that aren't autistic, because a lot of people have just lost their freaking minds, and they forget about this and they forget about that. They hyper focus on this, and that's not, it's just not, it's not healthy. It's not the best place that we can possibly be,
Yeah. It certainly is, and that's the signal that I need to take another sip.
Do it. I'll take a sip too while we're at it.
Yeah, you with your water, me and my coffee, and then next month that's going to be switching around.
It'll be switched around, exactly. Yep. Taking a little break from coffee. Yeah.
So to continue on from there, now of course there are those that didn't prepare for something like this to happen. Now their bank accounts are drained. They lost in the midst of possibly even losing their businesses, such as recently with a restaurant I just recently heard of in what was it, San Diego area, I believe, that people love, but now they're closing permanently because of this, and stuff they built out of passion, which is, of course, losing something like that causes all kinds of anxiety. That's not only harming their physical and mental health, but also possibly relationships with their friends and family with this whole thing, and all because of a mere virus and how we reacted to it. And so where's a good place to start reforming in such a situation to turn things around when you feel like you've hit rock bottom with no job? And how do you really get up from something like that in such a low spot?
Well, it's a great question, Christopher, because, people are, and I think we're just starting that point. I mean, I hope the economy snaps back and but right now you're looking at depression level unemployment. And the great thing is that a lot of people, not everybody, I know that there's always a story of somebody that didn't get help, but you have over 2 million businesses that averaged getting over $76,000 a piece. You've got people that cheated the system that didn't need the money. You've got people that needed the money that didn't get it. But overall, in general, there's been, 2 million businesses that have gotten $76,000 checks. You have a lot of people that are getting $2,000, $1,200, $1,500, $1,700 checks along the way. So there's been some assistance along the way. So that hard thud of a landing hasn't happened, right? And not saying that it couldn't, because eventually the government's going to run out of opportunities to print money. And but what I would say is, when things get upended, you can look at it in two ways. My world is ending, or the way that I was doing things was ending, and I've got a new opportunity to do something different, right? Yeah. Because people that switch, I know a really good friend of mine that had a car dealership, and he switched into making those sneeze guards, right? And did just fine. And then you've got my company, Anton J. You have companies that saw their company's slowing down and they needed to be shifted. We've been busier than ever. We're actually ramping up and training new strategists and and things like that. So there's companies that are thriving, and then there's companies that are hurting, and you have to learn to pivot, right? You've got restaurants that started selling toilet paper, right? They started.
Yeah, I know a cafe downtown that's selling toilet paper for $1 each. So
Right. And so at the end of the day, the idea is to always remember it's a mindset. It's never a tactical thing, right? What you're doing, it's a mindset thing. And if you have a mindset to say, okay, my environment has changed, therefore my behaviors and my activities need to change. But if, there's this thing called normalcy bias in psychology that says when I'm in a bus accident, right, and the bus is tumbling, right, you're like, oh my God, everything is falling apart, and I'm in an accident, and then it comes to rest, and you have a little bit of time before maybe it teeters over the edge, or it starts on fire, or whatever it is. But a lot of people will stay in their seat or wherever they land going, this isn't happening, this isn't happening, this isn't happening. And that's when smoke or fire or other tragedies can befall you because you're not taking action. Yeah. And I think a lot of people need to understand that life has, from the first man that ever stood upright, has faced adversity, right? And that's what makes us human. Is our prefrontal cortex gives us the ability to adapt to our environment. We happen to be in a new environment with a new setting. Hopefully it's not permanent, but if it is, you're going to have to learn to adjust. And the faster you learn that you hit that pivot, the faster you're going to be able to succeed or thrive or survive in that new environment. And so, the advice I give everybody, and I have with my clients, my friends, people, my loved ones, everybody, is find opportunity, right? Yeah. Seek opportunity. There's very few times in history where you're ever going to be able to see an upheaval like you're seeing right now. Yeah. And, some of the tallest buildings were built. Some of the greatest companies were built in times of recession, depression, and great upheaval, right? So right. 2008, 2009, I think Uber was, they were nothing. And then now they're a giant company. So the idea is, yeah, things are going to happen, man. But when it comes to a right, or it's shifting in front of you, how do I shift so that I can take advantage of that environment to make sure I take care of my family, and then also how can I shift that around to ease suffering, which was the CTFP series that I started out with as the bus was tumbling.
Yep. And what was I going to say? Shoot. But moving on, because there are those that did decide to take this as a great time to step up with a business idea to solve a problem. So most tend to jump in when they could easily kind of rush in to the point where they end up flopping if they're not careful and going the proper way about it. And so what would be the first step to avoid such a pitfall going through this, of maybe gain this success from this, but then it's going much faster than you could anticipate, or even possibly going with the idea and not gaining any traction? So how can we avoid that pitfall besides taking the 12-week course?
Right. Well, get your mind right. Yeah. Get your mind right. And I say, you've heard me say this a lot, is that when you have emotions super high, your intellect is super low. And so if that's the case, then you want to look at things, like a fighter pilot or a pilot in general. Every time that you're flying through the air and you're on a plane, every bump that you hit, if the pilot came on and went, "Oh my God, what was that?" Right? That's not a well-trained pilot. And what they do is they say, "Oh, thank you, folks. I hope you enjoyed that little ride. We're not going to charge you anything extra, and we just want you to hold on, put your seatbelts on, and we're going to get through this, and it'll be smooth there in 3 minutes."
Apologize for any spilled cocktails on your dress.
Yeah, exactly. And only when I wear a dress, but that's only 3 or 4 a year.
I'm not sure I really needed to know that info.
Well, transparency, brother, transparency. But but at the end of the day, if you're operating in fear, and that was why I did the CTFD series, right? That was called Calm the Fuck Down. And at the end of the day, your brain does not operate or function when you're at a high level of emotion. You get pissed off at your loved ones, and you say things that you can't take back, and you think back to yourself. You get drunk, or you get angry, or whatever it is. And when you're in those moments, the decisions that you make are highly irrational. And so as this thing is happening, you got to get control over your fear and go, you know what? Nobody gets out of this thing alive. We all die. And at the end of the day, it's a decision about how I'm going to live. And I'm not going to live in fear no matter what's facing me. If it's COVID that gets me, then so be it. That was my time. If it was a random, you see a lot of people. A good friend of mine was driving, doing nothing wrong. He wasn't drunk. It was him and his family, and they're driving down the freeway, and a car had stalled out in the freeway, and he was going 70 miles an hour and hit a parked car. And you can't plan for that kind of stuff. That is life in and of itself is a chaotic, beautiful mess. And so you enjoy the times when you're happy, you enjoy the times when things are going good, and you use the times that are in upheaval to be able to build a strength so that you can get through it. And then also the thing that I find helps a lot, and I know that you found this to help a lot, is finding ways to serve and help and lift other people up, which is why you do this show.
Yep. You telling that kind of reminds me of when I started looking up Buddhism and just learning more about I'm trying to pronounce his name right.
You never can. You never can. The only guy that
I know his last name's Gautama, and he was like an Indian prince. Well, actually, it was around modern day Nepal, but he, after living so much of a luxurious life, he finally decided to go out after his father was like, keep him safe and all this, because he wanted him to be a king as prophesized. But he ended up discovering 3 things during his travels, because one time he ended up meeting an old person and then found out that, tomorrow, that there was 3 things that are basically guaranteed. Tomorrow you're going to be older, one day you're going to get ill, and one day you're going to die, period. And I would add on top of that is that change is going to happen no matter what. Get over it.
Yeah, it's 100% true, brother. And so happiness becomes a choice.
Yeah.
Right? Happiness becomes a choice. And I choose happiness all the time. Right? I really basically have, a couple of emotions. Yeah, sometimes but I get angry sometimes, but it's sort of a righteous anger. I get angry at the injustices in this world. I've gotten angry at how people have become hyper-focused on COVID, and they're not paying attention to suicides or trafficking or domestic violence. And, and I get angry about that stuff. But then I think to myself, a raging, angry Jason is not going to attract anybody. It's not going to solve any problems. So what I'll do is, in kindness and in love, I'll continue to remind people that people are dying of cancer. People are dying of suicide. People are sick. People are hungry. People are starving. People are, there's pain in the world that's outside of this invisible enemy that we see and that we're dealing with right now. And there's ways to guard yourself against that invisible enemy. It doesn't, it has a hard time attacking people that are healthy, that are taking their vitamins, that are that are in shape, that have made their health a priority. And so there's ways to guard against it. Do the best you can, and then choose to be happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Something I've been reminding myself throughout this whole time, with some successes, some losses, but
just like everybody else, brother. Just like everybody else, little brother.
Yeah. Nothing. All I could do was try.
Oh, we haven't been keeping track of that dollar per try, huh?
You said it this time, not me.
That's right. I said it in reference, though.
Yeah, I was about to say it in reference to, bud.
Mm-hmm.
So Okay, so now some businesses that are working to stay open in order to keep their employees safe and also be able to provide for their families, yet it kind of varies between the states and even different countries of how they could do this, if at all, such as here in Indiana, they are currently allowed 50% capacity for a majority of businesses, such as restaurants, while in places like California, they are on lockdown, in my view, kind of like a Gestapo something, and then a lot end up being closed for good with no real chance at making it because of this whole lockdown, even if they are essential businesses. And even if they are essential business, it can still be a struggle. So how can a business survive against such odds, or if it's even possible, especially in places like California and Washington, for example, and even Illinois, where at least for the California one, they even have a hotline to rat out businesses for not following procedures.
Well, I mean, you want the answer. The answer is open your business and go to work, because it's unconstitutional for anyone to pass a law for you. Again, everybody, I think, did what the government asked them to do for 2 solid months, right?
Yeah.
The numbers haven't materialized. There's a lot of evidence piling up that this is starting to break down along political lines. And, the blue states don't want to come back quickly. Pritzker, for instance, in Illinois, right? Pritzker and Pritzker, if anybody wants to do any research, they stand to make millions of dollars because they invested in companies that provide testing, right? So, it would be not a large leap to look at that and go, okay, so they want Illinois shut down as long as possible so that they can maybe mandate you have to have tests before you can go back to work. But it's unconstitutional, right? If anybody wants to read the Constitution, it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? And then there's a whole bunch of amendments and all that kind of stuff. And all of that to say that the government is governing at the consent of the governed. And what they're saying is we can come in and we can stop your livelihood. We can force you to stay home. That's not this country. That's not the United States of America. The United States of America is a shining example of freedom and liberty that we can manage our own affairs. And if anybody's infringing upon my ability to pursue happiness, now there's laws set against them. If you want to attack me, murder me, do those kind of things, there's laws set against that. But when you're throwing a gym owner in jail for opening his gym and you're letting prisoners out of jail, that is wrong. There's no other conversation that we need to have about this other than it's unconstitutional, right? I am sovereign to myself. I don't submit myself to the tyranny of someone else telling me what I can and cannot do. I live in a civilized society, which means that there's guardrails of what I can and cannot do. And most of that is so that we don't impinge on our fellow human beings' right to pursue their own life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? So breaking the law. The people, the governors that are holding people back, the people that are the Pritzker and these different governors, and they're doing it in the name of safety and security, which is the beginning of all totalitarian regimes. It was in Venezuela. It was in communist Russia. It's been and every time throughout history, they all say these things. And so at the end of the day, how do you deal with it? Yep. You go to business and you open your company and you do work. Because at the end of the day, if everybody did that all at once, right, they can't stop you. And they can give you a fine and they can imprison you. And they can, Pritzker's threatening people with 1 year in prison and $2,500 fines. Guess how long that's going to last? And if you do get thrown in jail,
it actually wasn't long, because after the huge backlash, he's actually backing off a little bit.
He should, because it's wrong. It's against the law. It's against the law of civilized humanity to tell healthy people to stay at home, and if they open their business, the only way that they can feed their families, and they tell them to open their business, they can't open their businesses, you're now impinging upon my right, and you work for me. I'm sorry. If you're an elected official, you work for us, the people, at the consent of the governed. And they can't forget that. And the more we stay home and the more that we don't open our businesses, the more that we allow that type of totalitarianism to set in, because that's what it is. It's totalitarianism. It's communism. It's control. That is taking away my liberty, and I'm not going to go down without a fight. You're going to have to kill me before you take my liberty and my freedom
Yeah, and it's like, how can they say which is essential business in the first place? I mean,
we're letting them. We're letting them, little brother. By saying that you can go, into a Walmart and there's nobody's walking around with a mask, and there's 5,000 people, and you're touching, they're touching the food and they're touching all this kind of stuff, to say that that's non-essential. And I hear this argument all the time, because I'm in the heart of the battle, is that some people are going, my business isn't essential because I give massages. It's essential to you, because if you don't give massages, you can't make money and do the work that you need to feed your family. It's essential. Your right to do business is essential, no matter what product or service it is that you have. No matter what you do, if it's cutting hair, if it's Walmart, if it's whatever it is, it's whatever it is that you choose to do. They're all essential, because we have the freedom to transact business in this country, as long as we follow the guardrails that have been set up by us electing people, them representing us, and us saying that's an acceptable law. This is bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like this comment from a certain person. Salons need to open up. I believe it is essential. I need my sassy back.
I need my sassy back.
I need my sassy back.
It's not essential for me. Oh, there's my love. Hi, Em.
Hey, two studs. I'm not sure I would call myself a stud, but whatever.
Well, she did. So take it, man. She's a hottie. She just called you a stud. Take that. Run with it.
Yep, and we already have one agreeing with you. That's right.
I love Kenna. Hi, Kenna. Kenna and I have been trying to connect for God knows how long. She gets busy, and then I get busy, and then we don't connect. But we will, and it'll be exactly the right time.
Well, maybe next time at Unstoppable, wherever that's going to be.
Yes. I know where it's going to be.
Hold on, just need to clear my throat. It's not COVID.
If it is, you'll get over it.
Yeah, I'll get over it.
99% chance.
Yeah, and we are shutting down over that tiny 1% or less for some reason. That
be careful, you're going to get the COVID, elite to come out after you. Don't you care about life? Yes, we care about life. All of it.
Yeah, you care about life only for this certain situation, while hiding in the basement behind the keyboard, being a keyboard warrior, while also at the same time not giving a crap about the higher rates of death with cancer and the flu and all this other stuff. But COVID, because mass news media said so.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Pivot over there. Over there. Focus. While we do all this other illegal shit in the back.
Exactly. I think we're causing all kinds of trouble, Christopher.
Yeah. Oh my! I hear a knock at the door already. I wonder who that could be.
Yeah.
It's like V for Vendetta all over.
All over again.
Yeah, for those who don't know, V for Vendetta, great movie, by the way. Watch it. It's kind of like how, I don't know how much I want to get into spoilers with that movie, but it's in some ways kind of similar, don't you think?
It's very similar to what we're going through right now. Very, very similar.
Yeah, only instead of the United States, it's in Britain. So.
Right.
Oh boy. So, okay, so continuing on from there. Now there are, as you mentioned, stimulus packages and also loans from the SBA for small businesses. Yet, as we mentioned before, the big corporations that shouldn't be gobbling it up are, and leaving very little hope for the smaller businesses, which there is some backlash and some businesses are giving back But and so then that leaves many thinking, okay, so what do I do now if the SBA thing doesn't work? Where can we go? Because they may be depending on it.
There's nowhere to go. And this is what I keep screaming at people. When the tax dollars are gone, when the government stops printing money, there is nowhere to go. The money, it's being manufactured right now. You have to have a healthy economy of production happening. You have to have goods and service trading hands, and you have to have the money for those goods and services trading hands, so that the government can then take their little piece of the pie called a tax, right? All of this money that's being sent to everybody, that's tax dollars, okay? Right now, it's just being manufactured and made up out of thin air. It's being printed because, thank God we live in America, and America is one of the safest places in the world to invest. And so we're basically racking up debt, okay? And it would be the equivalent of you borrowing money to buy a toothpaste, to buy some toothpaste, and the amount of money that you borrowed for it was $100 billion.
Man,
for the toothpaste.
Yeah, didn't they have that kind of problem in, I believe it was Zimbabwe, where they kept printing money, and now it's like you have to pay like millions in their dollars just to get something very basic like broccoli or something when they print too much.
Yeah, you need a wheelbarrow to carry all the money that it takes to buy a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
And people just think, look, at the end of the day, you get hyper focused on this thing, and they're like, you can't eat money or you can't use money when you're dead. I'm sorry, you can die of more than one thing. And starvation and social unrest they're prevalent, and they happen in other countries. And people think that it can't happen here. They're sadly mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they are.
And this is the most heavily armed country in the world. You really want people starving in this country?
Yeah, especially since one of the things people have been doing since the whole COVID-19 side was they started buying guns and ammunition. So it's just
drinking and buying guns. And if it comes down to it, if it's my family that eats or your family that eats, I mean, that drives us all the way back to, to human nature. So we better get this stuff straightened out, and people need to start taking it seriously. I got hammered over the head with the COVID thing. You better take it seriously, Jason. Well, you know what? You COVID elites need to really be looking at taking the economy seriously.
Well, yeah, he has been taking it seriously. That's why he's been preparing for 10 years.
That's right. I took it serious before I was supposed to. I didn't know that it was going to be COVID, but I knew it was going to be something, right? Just like I knew that 2009, 2010, that time frame it had stuff in it, right? And there's other things that happen to people that nobody pays attention to because it's not the whole world hyper focusing on it at one time.
Yeah. Excuse me, that's a cue for another drinky.
Drink, buddy, drink.
Chug, 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 chug. Chug that coffee.
Yeah, what would be fun one day is you and I getting drunk and doing a show together.
I don't know. I always thought of myself as possibly one of those sleepy drunks where I just pass out. It wouldn't be that much fun.
Well, I would carry the show then.
Then what would be the point of me being there?
Well, to watch you sleep drunkenly. And I could say whatever. I could play both parts. I could be, here's what Christopher would say.
Yeah, and Ray also said, I have not received the stimulus check yet, not counting on it to show up moving forward still. And I've been hearing that a lot as well, with people still not getting their stimulus checks, and people saying that, we should continue this for months on end. And it's like, how is that sustainable?
It's not. I'm just telling you, it's not sustainable. Everybody thinks that it's just magic that this stuff shows up. When you have, 2 million businesses that have got $76,000, and you have, millions and millions of people that have gotten unemployment checks, it's that tap is going to run out in the next 30 to 60 days.
Yeah, it's just, yes. Sorry, this gets political, but, with this kind of thing, politics does have an effect in business, as we're already seeing here. So it's like, you can't avoid it. And that's kind of part of if I remember correctly, part of the job of being a chairman, just looking for it, or even just see even the business owner, just seeing all the outside forces that could end up bringing the business down, and instead of always focusing in your own little tight knit area and just ignoring everything outside, and how people are being caught with their pants down basically with this whole thing.
Yeah, businesses, small to medium businesses, entrepreneurs are the backbone of this country. You know, when we're producing, there's people that have their hands in our pockets at all times. The government with taxes, you have insurance companies that have their hands in our pockets for, in case something happens someday, right? You have attorneys, and you have, like, no offense against any of those industries, except for the idea is that if you take the small business person out of the equation, there's no pockets to put your damn hands in. So you need to let the entire country open back up and get this country revved back up again, or else we're going to see dark days. That's what people need to understand. Period. End of sentence.
Yeah, unfortunately, some people just can't seem to get that
They
because they let fear rule their thoughts.
Yeah, or they don't care. Pritzker doesn't care. You've got the lady that's the health person in California that suggested another 3 months of shutdown for LA County. She's making $465,000 a year, and she forgets. These people forget where their money comes from. It comes from tax dollars from the business world, right? And at the end of the day, period, end of sentence, they need to get out of the way, because you can't let somebody trying to destroy, and I don't care what anybody says. Look, at the end of the day, they're trying to destroy. Trump's number one thing that he had was the roaring economy that he had built, right? And they see the fact that if this bounces back really quickly.
So many keyboard warriors being triggered by hearing the word Trump.
Yeah, well, who cares? I don't really care anymore, right? He's our president, just like Obama was my president. And at the end of the day, we're voting against ourselves, and these Democrat governors that are shutting things down, they want to see it, because this does have the potential to snap back into place fairly quickly if we let our businesses open back up and do the safety thing and wear the mask thing and do the spray everything down thing and do whatever it is that you want to do, but open the hell up and let us transact business. And to shut them down because without 2 or 3 states or whatever reacting, that the economy would come back, and Trump might get some credit for that. They wouldn't do that, and they would put millions and millions of people's lives at risk, and the ability for people that don't have their kind of control or kind of power to be able to put a meal on their family's table is disgusting, and it's happening. I don't care what anybody says. There is political agendas afoot, and it's disgusting, and they should be disgusted with themselves.
Yeah, and as L. Patrick has said, reading the comments here, opportunity is for the discerning. Discernment is a byproduct of wisdom. Wisdom is a byproduct of adversity. In the end, those who have struggled most are prepared for prosper in time of adversity.
That's right. And I'm glad, at some level, Christopher, I'm glad to see this adversity happen for a generation that's faced none, as a group. And it's going to be their defining, our defining, how are we going to handle this? Who are we? Are we going to step up? Are we going to ease suffering? Are we going to lead? Or are we going to cower in fear? Because, generations upon generations upon generations of people, look, when we separated from England, and we fought the Revolutionary War. We fought it during a pandemic. We fought it during a pandemic of smallpox. And what we did was we fought. We did what we had to do to gain our freedom. And all of that death and sacrifice, so that their children, so that their grandchildren, so that their great-grandchildren, so that we could live in a free country with the ability, not the guarantee, with the ability to change our own stars, right? And by the opportunity given us in a free society to be able to find a need, meet a need, and to be paid for it.
Yeah.
Right? And we are pissing on their graves right now by acting like cowards.
Yeah, fun little random fact. One of my ancestors actually traveled on the Mayflower. Who knew?
Yeah, and that shit wasn't easy. If you think about that, scurvy, and I mean,
Yeah.
90% of the people that got on those boats died, right? And so your ancestor comes from stock of survival, right? And that's imbued in you. It's in your very heartbeat. It's in your cell makeup that we are the descendants of warriors who survived against all odds. And so I'm going to act like I'm a descendant of a warrior who survived against all odds. And I'll be damned if I'm going to sit down and be quiet and shut my mouth and be a good little boy and wait for you to tell me that my business is essential, or wait for you to tell me that it's okay for me to leave my house. You could kiss my ass.
Time to get our warrior face paint going.
That's it. I don't even need the warrior face. This is warrior face.
I don't know. Maybe like a little bit of a skull decoration there to go along with
now you're talking my language.
wings.
Now you're talking my language.
Oh man. That reminds me. When I was in Cambodia and Thailand, they also were selling like skull rings there. I should have gotten that.
You should have.
Yeah, I should have. But I was worrying about.
I wear your gifts for me though. I wear them all the time.
Yeah,
I love those bracelets that you got me.
Yeah, and for those who might be wondering, it's tiger's eye bracelets. I ended up getting a nice little special deal there.
Little negotiation skills.
Yeah, and yeah, for just quickly, in Cambodia, you can bargain at the night markets, and in some ways, the whole autism thing with the whole taking forever to process all the information came in handy, because I was there taking a while while possible customers were passing on by, and they were trying to get the deal going quickly. So.
I love that. I mean, if more people took an autistic pause in their life, they would make much better decisions.
Yeah. So speaking of the autistic side, now that we're getting into that, because a great change in an environment like this can really set us off and make it difficult to adjust for a variety of reasons, such as sensory overload, shutting down, and I've certainly been seeing this with some of the communities on Facebook that I'm a part of. And even wearing a mask can drive us nuts with how uncomfortable it is, which was definitely the case with me with my ears of putting it on, which just part of the reason why I refuse to wear them, even though they have been trying to get more inventive with how to get them on. But
masks don't work.
Yeah. And for an autistic dealing with such sudden changes as us struggling themselves and getting more anxiety attacks and depression during these periods with the sudden change in routine, because that's kind of part of what triggers us, the sudden change in routine that we're used to. After being around me for a while since last year when we first met during the competition, what would be your suggestion as a first step for those autistic individuals? Or would it be the same advice you would give them to anyone else, and we just have more of a hill to climb up?
Christopher, you and I have had this discussion a few times, since we've known each other. And I think that one of the biggest challenges is that autism is that you hear, and that you because our identity is so powerful, right? Yeah. Our identity is so powerful. So when someone dubs you, hey, you're autistic, right? And someone dubs you, hey, you're whatever. Like I could go on and on, but if somebody dubs you that, then that means that you're set apart, right? Mm-hmm. That you're set apart from the rest of humans, and you're just like me. You just process things differently, right? Mm-hmm. Aside from the fact that you can grow a full head of hair and look gorgeous with it, and it pisses me off.
I knew sometime during this you're gonna start pulling out my hair. I just knew it.
You knew it was going to happen. But for autism, because there's a spectrum, right? There's a spectrum. but there's also a spectrum out of the autism world. There's a spectrum of how you're able to handle things and your strength and your makeup and your character and your integrity and your all this kind of stuff. So when you ask me what is the greatest thing that I can tell you in the autistic community is to follow you, because you are an amazing example of someone who has not completely shoved off the identity of being autistic, right? But you've shoved off most of the weakness that people wanted to dub you with. And you're going, what are the strengths of being autistic, right? Being able to slow down my thought process, being able to think deeper, being able to process the world in a more compassionate way than other people. Like, there is a lot of strengths in your unique ability, right? And so what I would tell people is to regardless of whether it's autistic or not autistic, is to find what your strengths are and pour your heart, your energy, and your wisdom into your strengths, and stop looking at places where people want to look at you as less than, you know? Yeah. I mean, where I was born, how I was raised, being the bastard child of that got adopted by a maniac and blah, 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 blah. That stuff was what all made me stronger, you know? And there's a lot of things that you bring to the world, Christopher, that I don't bring. You know, you bring a love and a compassion and an understanding that is beyond me. And that's why you're part of my family, right? You're part of my family. And so I think that my advice is to, whether you're, again, autistic or not autistic, is find your strengths and surround yourself with people who love those strengths and who build those strengths with you. Like you found in your Misfit Nation family. Everybody in Misfit Nation loves you. And you know why they love you? It's because you are love. And that energy seeks the other energy and it finds itself. And so when you're in that environment, whether it's on camera or whether you're with us, hugging on us and loving on us in Florida at an Unstoppable event, you are surrounded by the same energy that you emit, right? And because you can't be in that environment all the time, it looks to you like it's outside of yourself, but you are the reason people love you, right? And it's just getting inside of that right environment and getting around those people that see the beauty inside of you and don't see the weakness. It's the same for me, brother. I want to be around people who love me. I want to be around people who support me. Not that buy all my bullshit, because I don't buy your bullshit half the time when you're spitting it at me. No, right? I don't accept
you toss it back in my face.
I do. I toss it back in your face because I love you and because you're strong and because you're capable and because you're smart and because you work your ass off and because you care about other people more than you care about yourself. And that, to me, brother, is worth investing in. It's worth investing in. And that is what I would say is forcefully. And you did that on purpose. You got yourself out of your closed in environment and you put yourself in these rooms and you put yourself on the line with the competition. I'm so fucking proud of you all the time that it pisses me off when you beat yourself up. You know what I mean? And I understand the beating yourself up sort of scenario because we all do it. And all the time I'm telling you, we all do it. You're not different than us. And you have specific areas in the spectrum of love and easing suffering that are ginormously advanced from anything that I would ever be capable of. And that's why I want you in my life.
Allergy seasons. God damn it, Jason. I knew you would get me back on somehow, and it had to be on my own show. So
it had to be. I mean, you got me a couple times.
Fuck.
I love you, little brother. You know that.
Yeah. Well, I'll just segue into a random question here. What's the current market value for a single N95 mask?
Zero, because it's worthless.
Mm.
It's $0 because it's worthless. It's pointless.
Mm.
I mean, unless you're, a health, and I get beat up all the time because I say shit like that. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to live in a society where I have to wear a mask. And I get, again, people have spread the flu. You spread the flu all year long, every single year. 80,000 people. What if it was your sneeze that killed them? We don't think like that. You want to, and I hear the idea, like if somebody owns a business and you want to go in that business, you're going to play by their rules because that's their home. So if I want to go into a particular business and they're demanding of me to wear a mask, I'm going to wear a mask, or I won't go in the business.
Yeah.
It's that simple. But when the thing that drives me crazy is I see people driving cars by themselves wearing a mask, and I think to myself, idiot. Right?
I've been saying that too. It's just
it is bizarre to me, the willingness for people to subjugate themselves to a higher power other than God.
Yeah, and even now there's recently warnings about wearing masks all the time because you're breathing in your own carbon dioxide that you're emitting. So it's just
yeah.
Man,
not going to do it. I'm not going to do it, Christopher. Not going to do it.
Well, I only did it once, but once was enough for me. I just can't deal with the string around my ears. It just the sensory thing. I'm sorry, folks. Wait, no, I'm not sorry.
You don't have anything to be sorry about. Look, if you're sick, stay home, right?
Yeah.
If you're sick, stay home. Don't go. You don't know what you got. You don't know what, but stay home. Like, get better, right? Yeah. And at the end of the day, those things don't stop the COVID deal anyway. And now they just came out with a new study where everybody's like, well, if you sneeze or it gets on a surface, somebody could pick that up. Now they're saying that it's very difficult for it to spread on surfaces. That came out today. They're learning more and more and more and more about this.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm not a doctor, but I also am not going to live my life in fear. And it is what it is, brother.
And in a way, it's affiliated to business as well, because you shouldn't rely on old information if you want to get ahead. And yet people are doing that with this virus.
They're holding on to old information, aren't they? They're holding on to a body count that never materialized. Then they were like, let's flatten the curve. Well, we flattened the curve. Now you can't go outside until we have a cure, or that everybody's tested, or whatever it is. And this thing has already mutated 17, 18 times. Yeah, like it's not even the same already. Virus it was. It's not even the same virus that it was. This is the stupidest thing that I've ever seen in human history.
Yeah, and now we're getting down to the hour already, but I just want to get at least this one question down. So for the small mom and pop businesses that have always ignored the internet this whole time, and along with even some corporations, but now due to this lockdown had to face the fact that they really have no choice but to pivot when before they shrugged it off with this business model. So, well, for someone that's never used the internet before, maybe like a new client, what would you say how to adjust swiftly to this, Because right now the ones that have embraced online, like Amazon, are really killing it,
Well, they're really killing it. They also have rules. They don't have to pay taxes. There's all kinds of stuff that they have that's set against us because we allowed it to happen, right? Because we're lazy and we didn't, anyway, that's a whole other show, brother. But what I would tell people that don't want to pivot is enjoy working for somebody else. Enjoy working for somebody else, because at the end of the day, this responsibility falls back onto the shoulders of the person who's watching this, the person that you that I look to in the mirror every single day. It's my responsibility to produce for me and my family, right? And when there's excess, that's when my spirit or my character show, and I use that excess to ease suffering. That's what I do with my life. Not everybody has to do that. Not everybody's built for that. Not everybody wants to do that. If somebody wants to buy 3 or 4 different Maseratis, that's fine. In different colors, that's fine. That's just not who I am. And so the idea is that we've gotten so weak in the spine as you know, especially in this country, that we expect everything to be handed to us, and we expect everybody to be conscious of my skin color, my sexual preference, or my gender, or my whatever, that we've forgotten that shit doesn't matter. Who you are and what you do to build up yourself, and through a business you add to society, through a charity you add to society, through whatever it is. This world was never made up. It's not life, liberty, and the guarantee of happiness. It's life, liberty, and the pursuit. In that pursuit, you have to get better for you to get better results. You have to get better if you want more stuff, right? If you want to do that, that is how society is set up. Every society that says, here, I'm going to hand you something in return for your loyalty, for your vote, or for your attention, has ended in disaster. Venezuela, people are having to kill zoo animals to feed their family because at some point in time, third or fourth richest country in the world decided that the rich people were it was unfair, and the oil stuff needed to be distributed. And they go, yeah, we'll do that for you. And guess what? They just took all the money for themselves, all the power for themselves, and didn't give it to the people, right? And that devolved into the disaster that you see in front of you right now in Venezuela. People can look today and see what happens, but they don't. They don't look outside of their own brain. They don't think for themselves. They see a D or an R and they just blindly follow. And you should never blindly follow anyone or anything. You should think for yourself and find the right answer for you and for the society in which you find yourself. And it always leads to disaster or some sort of a tipping of the balance when you're not constantly upgrading who you are for the intent of serving other people.
Yeah. And I've just been thinking during that, it's like business owners that just blindly follow trends and never really evolve much from that, and then there's ones that are the trendsetters. You know what I mean?
And trendsetters, I mean, it's tough to be one. You see somebody like for every Elon Musk, there's a million people that go into bankruptcy. Elon Musk himself went bankrupt. Elon Musk himself had to give everything away and was sleeping on his friend's couch because he didn't have a place to live, right? It's all about sacrifice. The amount of sacrifice you make is is in direct proportion to the amount of reward that you possibly will get, right? There's no guarantee. It's in the pursuit. You have to improve yourself, you and your skill sets, your mindset, your skill set. So the small business owner that goes, oh my God, I'm going to cling on to this thing that I was selling out my back door. And now no longer is that available to you. You have to figure out how to use the internet or figure out how to do something different. But at the end of the day, right now, what needs to happen is every human being that owns a business, a brick and mortar that they've closed because a governor told them to, is open the fuck up right now. Because it's unconstitutional for them to tell you not to. If you want to stay at home and you're afraid and all that other kind of stuff, stay home, because some other entrepreneur who's not will go ahead and take your customers.
And I was going to ask what would be your final words for the business owners, but I think that pretty much sums it up pretty well, don't you think?
I think so, brother. I think so.
Yeah.
And I want everybody that watches this show to make sure that they follow you, because you do good work. You have great interviews. Your painting, you're very calming. It's a very calming thing for me to watch you paint. And I very rarely do I catch you live, but sometimes I'll just watch it later and while I'm writing or doing something else, and it's very calming. So I highly suggest everybody follow you. Know that this young man has an unbelievable eye. So if you have events that need a photographer, he's an amazingly talented young man. So that's my suggestion to everybody.
Yeah, I guess part of my own little secret with the whole painting and doing art and the photography is that, well, maybe I should just keep it up my sleeve. I don't know.
Keep it up your sleeve.
Maybe, just maybe. You're going to have to pay if you want it.
There you go. Boom.
There you go. So yeah, L. Patrick says, Jason, society can enjoy working for someone else who will leverage their profits to make a humanitarian benefit.
100%.
Yep,
100%.
So man, we're 5 minutes over time already. Jeez.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, thanks for having me on, little brother. I love you, man.
Yep.
And we're family for life. You know that.
Yep. And you know what? How can they learn more about you and contact you, Anton J, and maybe tell them more about the Bald Avenger and Misfit Nation?
Yeah, we have a page. The Bald Avenger page is probably the best place to get a taste of what we do. Bald Avenger page on Facebook and baldavengershow.com. That's nice. That you can go there and you can see some of the shows that we do. But ultimately, Anton J exists. We're a consulting company that help good people make more money, get more time so they can do more good. And, it's sort of a give back to be able to fix companies and help them make more money. We just finished up a big one today. Really wise, smart business owners are hiring us more and more and more because they had some downtime and they want to be prepared for what's next. And so that's really what we do. And then we've got the 12-week course, which of course you went through and are now a graduate of. And
technically, I just need to apply everything at this point.
You do, and that's the same thing for everybody, right? There's people that have taken the 12-week the growth course, right? How to master your business G-spot, and people that have taken
it for growth, by the way.
Stands for growth before they throw a little tantrum. But you know what? I've said a lot of shit in this show that's probably pissed a lot of people off. But I don't really.
But some people just want to focus on that little bitty thing and ignore everything.
So I'm happy to take the incoming. Be mad at me. I'm happy for it. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that take a lot of courses or read a lot of books, and then there's the very few that take action on it and do something with it. And you are and we have lots of examples of those people. And I can't wait for the next Unstoppable, which we'll be announcing hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah, hopefully pretty soon, because I'm kind of itching to know where exactly it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right, you're not going to say it. So. Don't forget Jason's own page. So if you want to have him as a speaker, which, he's pretty funny, I got to admit.
Yeah, I do a good job on stage.
Yeah, and also on top of that, if you want to learn more about this podcast, Thru Autistic Eyes, we still have the website, christophercaston.com/podcast. And of course, there's also Facebook, Instagram, and also a Patreon page if you would like to contribute so that we could keep the show going, because, stuff like this does cost money. I have to say, so.
Pay him. Donate money to that Patreon right away.
Yeah, because nothing in life is really free, and if it does seem free, it's because someone else paid for it.
Amen.
That's Amen. Right. Let's see. Story of the Chinese bamboo seed. Yep, they plant it, and then they spend years and years trying to take care of it before it finally grows above ground and just shoots right up.
It's a great story.
Yep. So anyway, just wanted to thank you so much again for joining, and for everyone else that has popped on to say hello. So,
hi, brother. Yep, I appreciate you, man. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Keep going. Keep changing lives. And I'll see you at the next Unstoppable event.
Yep, sometime in October. So this is Christopher D. Casson Thru Autistic Eyes signing off. So take care for next week. Peace.
Peace out.